What's the recommended way to move a VirtualBox VM to another computer? I use VirtualBox 4.1.x on my Ubuntu machine, and I've set up several virtual machines. Since there are several ways one can move a virtual machine in VirtualBox to another computer, I was wondering which one is the recommended way. Use the import/export utility. Copy the entire virtual machine folder, containing the .v and .vbox files. Clone the VD using Virtual Media Manager and then recreate a VM on the target machine, using the cloned VD as the hard disk. I have successfully used the first method several times, and it has always worked. The problem is that after exporting and importing, the disk image is transformed into VMDK and not VD anymore. The second method is probably the easiest, but I'm not sure that simply copying the files will work or not on the target machine. When searching about this method, I found some people had problems in which they had to edit the virtualbox.xml file to solve it. At last, there's the third method, but it requires the extra work of creating a VM similar to the original VM configuration, which is not desirable. It's clear from the above explanation that my desired method is the second one, but I need expert advice on this if it works or not. I don't want any XML editing getting in my way. What's the best method of safely transferring my VMs to another computer with VirtualBox?
Well done for doing your research. I regularly use all three options. Use the import/export utility. This is the easiest because it combines the whole VM into a single file and transfers it over without issue pretty much every time. However, in my experience when creating the OVA or OF file for export, it throws away all snapshots and if done incorrectly can result in a VMDK file. When you re-import the VM, you should be able to select what type of HDD file you want created, V or VMDK. Copy the entire virtual machine folder, containing the .v and .vbox files. This is my preferred option, and although I have had to edit the XML file a few times, it's been my own fault for messing something up. Make sure that when you copy the VM, you get all the files associated with it. The issues I ran into were when certain snapshots and secondary VD files were in the wrong directory and weren't copied properly. If you copy all the files and permissions, you should not have any problems whatsoever. Clone the VD using Virtual Media Manager and then recreate a VM on the target machine but using the cloned VD as the hard disk. This is less desirable because then you have two copies of a VM, and it can cause licensing issues, network issues, etc., depending on how you clone the VD file. In summary, I would definitely recommend option 2. Just make sure you get all the needed files when you move it over.
Method 2 works well now, with VirtualBox 4.0 and higher, without any XML modification required. Stop your virtual machine. Exit VirtualBox. Copy the VM folder to the new location. Restart VirtualBox, and delete the old VM. Go to Machine menu greater than or equal to Add and browse to your new location. That's it. PS, I have VirtualBox April 3, 2020 on OS X 10.10. See this VirtualBox forum post for more details.
My preferred option is option 2 as well. Copy the entire VM folder containing the VD and VBox files. But sometimes a UID mismatch will happen. Often this happens if you just copy the vdisk image of one machine into another machine, but I have had it happen during straight copies of full directories as well. So, if this is the message you get after moving the virtual machine and trying to start it up in the new setup, Failed to open the hard disk. Cannot register the hard disk because a hard disk with UUID already exists. Just go into the directory of your virtual machine, of course change the actual path to match the actual path you are going into. And run this command to assign the disk a new UUID.
In case anyone else is looking for an answer to this, I successfully moved 5 VirtualBox VMs to another Win7 install on a new hard drive on the same machine, essentially a move from one guest OS to another on the same PC. I realize that drivers on a completely new machine would probably vary and potentially have a negative effect on the move, but I've documented the process below in the hope that it may help someone. There was no requirement to clone VMS or alter the XML file. VB version was fairly current, 4.3.12 R93773. New copies of VMS were created in a new folder/shared drive to retain existing/old VMS intact. I can still boot from the old hard drive, which I've retained for redundancy/issue resolution until I'm happy with my new setup, so I can access the old VMS in their former state if necessary. Drive letters will vary/may not be necessary depending on your setup. On old Win7 host, ensure all VMS are powered off. On new Win7 host, create new folder called x:\newms\virtualbox VMS from new Win7 machine to ensure permissions OK. Copy/paste, don't drag, all VMS and related folder contents from the old folder to this folder, uses new permissions. Uninstall VirtualBox, if installed. Delete VirtualBox folder and all contents, if existing. Reboot to confirm no program files or registry entries remaining, if uninstalling old VirtualBox. Install/reinstall VirtualBox, ensure you're using the same version as the VirtualBox on which VMS were created on old host/machine, in my case var. 4.3.12 R93773. Important, don't select tick box to open/run VirtualBox at end of installation. Copy/paste, don't drag. VirtualBox folder and contents from old Win7 host, usually C:\user's username. VirtualBox. Now open VirtualBox. Set preferences for new default VM creation folder to the same file path as the newly created VirtualBox VMS folder, x:\newms\virtualbox VMS. Test status of VMS. Good luck.
If you want support dictionary, play as John Seeger's subscriber.